What happens now is that you sign this form that allows me to put a lien on your assets in case of some other mishap with your finances down the line. And I get to work on making this go from a criminal matter back to the misunderstanding that I'm sure it was.
One other thing, because of all this bank trouble, I'm still having a hard time with my credit cards, so I'll just need to stay with you. But it'll only be for a few nights.
Absolutely not.
Well, welcome back. Now, I don't have to tell a lot of you all that that was a scene from the new Netflix series Inventing Anna, because so many of you have been watching it. It's pulled straight from the high society headlines here in New York City.
Right, and our next guest is one of the stars of the series. Arian Moayed now joins us, and we are so excited to have you here because I was just telling you, I just finished watching this. I was on a plane coming back. Everyone around me was watching Inventing Anna. This has become a huge success, so congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And I know that this has been a long process. You shot pre-pandemic and then post-pandemic.
Oh, wow.
You're a New Yorker here, so that wasn't hard to get into the New York feel of things, but you had a secret weapon at your audition?
Right before I started working on the show, I did 12 days of grand jury duty.
Wow!
Grand jury.
Grand jury duty, where you're just sitting there and being like, is this a pencil a piece of evidence? And just like, well, it's a pencil. So yeah, and you really got this sense of like how the system works, and that's why it's like so important that we actually do grand jury duty, because it's like you get to see how it kind of like functions. And then I had the audition a couple weeks later, and then I'm reading, I'm like, oh, I think I know how this can work, and so that's basically how it all happened. And I told that to Shonda, and she's like, well, we're lucky to have a little bit of that info. Yeah.
How did you go about, did you follow this story? Did you come into this now once you got the project? Did you walk out of it with a different understanding or a different, I guess we all had our own notions about who this person was and what she did, but where did you come out of it?
Yeah, prior to the pandemic, I just remember the headline, like Soho grifter and like, a fake German heiress, and that kind of like all that I kind of knew. But then right as we were going through it, Shonda said something really kind of smart, which was, Todd is a good guy and thinks that this is a really great opportunity for him to like up his career as well and make a name for himself. And so he's kind of doing the same hustle that she's doing.
It's interesting to me because this is obviously based off of real people, ripped from the headlines, and yet I believe it says something like, everything is absolutely true except for the parts that are completely made up. Did you have any interaction with the real-life counterparts of who you were all playing?
Right before the shooting, weirdly, I'll just give a little side story, that my nonprofit company, Waterwell, we worked with transcripts. And we did this show called The Courtroom and performed them in a reenactment inside of courtrooms around the city. And so I got a link to all of the transcripts of the trials. And I wasn't even planning on like researching it, but I just like clicked on one, and then all of a sudden you like deep dive. And I got a sense of like who this character was and how it kind of like could happen and work. And so that was the big like understanding of Todd. But right before the pandemic hit, I had this huge scene with Rachel that was played by Katie Lowes, in which I'm interrogating her on the stand. And they're like, oh, Todd's here. And I'm like, Todd who? They're like, Todd Spodek's here. I'm like, now? Wow. And so he was there on the day where I was interrogating and cross-examining her. And I went up to him afterwards. I was like, Todd, you couldn't come on any other day? Like, was there not a day where I'm like walking up the stairs or something that you were gonna watch? But yeah, so I got a chance to meet him, and he was really happy, and yeah, so it was cool.
And this man does it all because he co-founded a school, the Waterwell School, and I'm imagining your students think it's pretty cool that you're helping out teaching as well?
For years, the students at the Waterwell Education Program, I teach, high school seniors like a BFA, like monologue class, public school, free of charge, and years they're like, what does this guy know? And until I was in Spider-Man. Then they're like, he's in Spider-Man. Not Succession, not Broadway. Spider-Man was a thing that did it. But yeah, I do love teaching.
Now he's legit. He was in Spider-Man.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.